So My Hero Academia Chapter 415 is finally out, and with it we get to see Midoriya and Shigaraki continue to beat the ever-loving shit out of one another as flashes of their past continue to appear before them, including one that could confirm a long-time fan theory. Could it really be true? And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Chapter 415, titled Rejection. This chapter opens up, picking up exactly where the last chapter left off, as we see a giant Mineta and Froppy during the USJ attack as Shigaraki and Midoriya's memories continue to mesh together. Wow, a giant Mineta, that's like 90% of the fanbase's biggest nightmare. The first user, Yoichi, explains that this fusion of memories is because both One For All and All For One's quirk factors are now resonating, which actually started at the beginning of this fight, explaining why both Shigaraki and Midoriya could initially see each other's vestiges, and has only been getting stronger the longer it has been going on. Yoichi then continues explaining that his brother, All For One, always wanted a strong heart capable of stealing One For All, but his heart couldn't compare to the true power of the hearts of all of its previous wielders. And now, finally, after generation and generation of passing on One For All, the quirk of hope, it's time for it to fulfill its true purpose: to take down the strongest villain of them all. And with this little speech, Midoriya readies his arm once again for another punch, except this time, instead of just transferring one of the vestiges to Shigaraki, he prepares to transfer them all. Man, it's such a cool shot seeing all of the users ready themselves as sparks inside of Midoriya's fist. And as their memories fuse once again, still at the USJ, but this time to the very first moment both Shigaraki and Midoriya officially met one another, Midoriya leaps towards Shigaraki and unleashes another uber powerful punch on the villain. Aw, look at Midoriya, he's so young and innocent. Who could have guessed he would turn into this absolute phenom? However, as brutal as Midoriya's punch is on Shigaraki, unluckily for Midoriya, the villain was far more prepared for the attack this time around, and he actually managed to reject and prevent the transfer of all of One For All's vestiges, with the exception of one that just barely managed to make it true: N. And as N's vestige smashes into All For One's core, just like Kuro did, Midoriya reassures himself that the plan is working, and he just has to keep going to free the child inside of Shigaraki. And speaking of child, do you know where your children are? After N is transferred, both Midoriya and Shigaraki see the memory of a very young Tenko walking with a man in a suit taking him home. Now, it's interesting to note that the face and most of the body of the man is hidden, meaning we can't tell if the man is Tenko's father or the mysterious man who brought Tenko home one day, who a good chunk of the fandom believed to be All For One. It's also very vital to point out that Tenko's hair here in this image is dark, meaning it takes place before his quirk manifested. So it's either an odd, loving moment Tenko walked home hand in hand with his dad, or it's actually the tearized moment All For One gave the quirkless Tenko the decay quirk. Either way, it was an oddly specific shot, and it's pretty interesting. But anyways, in response to getting his core struck again, Shigaraki takes no half measures and goes on the full defensive, covering his entire body in an array of giant, grotesque fingers. It's also at this moment that we learn that this entire fight between Midoriya and Shigaraki is still, miraculously, being broadcast to the entire world, thanks to one of Mei Hatsume's flying cameras, which is actually the same camera from during the cultural festival. Cool callback. And speaking of Mei Hatsume, the story then cuts back to her and all of the others in the falling UA, showing Gentle and the other heroes working together to make the structure land safely. Mei then explains to La Brava that the reason she is recording Midoriya is because he is her client, so she needs to keep an eye on him to better meet his demands in the future, which I guess makes sense and isn't stalkerish at all. And well, La Brava is just grateful they still have live footage to show off, especially of Midoriya, as she wants to show support to the boy that got Gentle arrested and helped him become the better man he is today. You see, kids, all you need to do to become a better person is lose a fight to a child and then single-handedly take down an entire prison of hardened criminals. And they say incarceration doesn't work. But anyways, after this conversation, the story once again cuts away. This time to a UA shelter, where we not only see people in shock and awe at Shigaraki's new grotesque form, but we also see everyone's favorite one-horned little girl, Eri, who, in seeing Midoriya fighting with tears in her eyes, immediately starts to run away from the shelter. And that's it for chapter 415. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more content like this, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. It's lunchtime. Oh, quite a short chapter this time. Huh.